All the talk in the town this week was Aaron Rodgers getting one of his favorite targets back to play with in the sandbox. Will Davante Adams cure all that ails the gangrene Blues as they travel into the Steel City, or are they in for a harsh awakening?
Texans and Packers. Could this be a possible Super Bowl showdown? Two young top QBs going head to head. Are the points going to fly, or will this be a defensive showdown?
NFC North supremacy on the line, but could it also be NFC supremacy overall? The Lions go to visit the Vikings. Which team will come out of this with the edge on home field advantage?
In Kansas City at San Fran. Has San Fran gotten over that Super Bowl loss, or are they still hurting a little bit? We'll find out if San Fran can get over the hump and take it to Kansas City.
Sunday Scaries with Bucks McGee. It's week 7, and Bucks McGee is back. Let's start breaking it down.
Well, Nutmeg, another week of fun and excitement. Super Bowl rematches and a hodgepodge of who knows what. An old fate of teammates meeting up again. It's some good times here in the NFL. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well, Bucks McGee, and let me first off say, welcome back. And the question begs to be asked: did you take my stapler?
Yeah, right. I'm telling you, Mother Nature, she's an angry one. I'll tell you, man. I'm telling you, man. If you move to Florida, yeah, it's great till this time of year. Jeez, Louise, man. Mm-mm.
Yeah. All joking aside, of course, between Milton and Helene, again, if you see the damage and want to donate to the Red Cross or any local businesses in the area in the areas that have been affected, please seek out those sources as well to support a recovery from the damage.
For sure, for sure.
So we'll get right into it because there's actually quite a bit of games this week that
Mhm.
beg our attention. And the first one, we'll get it out of the way right off the bat. Super Bowl rematch. Obviously, overtime last year, Kansas City pulled it out. San Francisco was primed for some revenge, and the season kind of got off to a different start. McCaffrey didn't last too long, went right on IR. Kittle had some injuries. Debo had some injuries. Ayuk has off the fresh contract, not quite been the Ayuk that they probably thought they were getting when they re-upped him. In
Mhm.
Kansas City, we've gone over talk about injuries. You had Pacheco go down, uh, Rashi Rice out for the season, so they've had their injuries, and they're still kind of they haven't necessarily reclaimed that old Mahomes Kelsey kind of
Mhm.
overkill magic. So they've been putting things together piecemeal. So even though these teams go into this game with the same squads from the Super Bowl, do you kind of not expect them to be quite the same?
No, they're definitely not the same. Kansas City is now a defensive first team. Let's be honest. The offense is not there. The defense keeps them in games. If this was the Chiefs' defense of 2 or 3 years ago, we'll say 3 years ago, then yeah, they probably get two more losses. They actually taste defeat this year. So this team is riding this defense. So at this point, that's what they're going to be, I think, for the rest of the year. I don't know if they're going to make any moves to get anybody in. The receivers that they have, I think, is what they're going to go with. The run game, suspect. So it's going to be Mahomes trying not to make mistakes and just this defense holding teams down. So that's your Chiefs. Your San Fran is simply try to get healthy and just figure it out.
Is the confidence kind of, no, well, maybe I should phrase it, is the shine on the star starting to dim as far as Brock Purdy's concerned, with seeing all these weapons kind of either missing time significantly or in and out of the lineup, and he kind of hasn't lifted everything up to this elite level to withstand the injuries. Do you think the stars kind of dimmed for Brock?
I don't think so. I think he's still a solid quarterback. When you lose, your big pieces, it's tough. It's one of those things where a quarterback has to learn to grind it out and figure it out. But when someone like McCaffrey goes down, he's like, your offense. The offense is basically based around him. So that it becomes an issue. You get, guys in and out of the lineup. There's no fluidity. Your offense isn't consistent. It's like next man up, which is great. But, when you're trying to, get things going, especially at the beginning of the season, it's difficult. So no, I think he's played well enough. They've been bit by the injury bug.
Where Jordan Mason has performed admirably, at least on the ground. Obviously, he's not the threat out of the backfield that CMC is. So, I mean, how different does this offense change going against Kansas City's defense with Mason, albeit playing well, but a different threat than McCaffrey against Kansas City?
Oh, I think it limits the playbook a bit. With McCaffrey, you throw him in, you can throw him wide, you line him up and, a wide receiver route, your pass game is wide open. This kind of limits what you can do in the pass game. And now when he's lined up, you're assuming, okay, it's a run. So I think the defense kind of pins their ears back and, can kind of figure out what's going to happen. Now it's just, will that offensive line hold up enough to open up, some holes so he can, get 4.5, 5 yards. He's going to have a solid run average to do anything. 2 to 3 yards a carry isn't going to cut it. He's going to have to make sure he's going 4.5.
And then Kansas City's perspective, this is America's game of the week. Obviously, we're going to see plenty of Taylor.
Whatever, man. Whatever.
So, I mean, Travis has come back up in recent weeks from that slow start he had.
It's been average.
Average.
Average. It hasn't been like the Travis Kelce of 2 years ago. He's been around.
Yeah, and Worthy really kind of hasn't risen to the top like we kind of figured there would be space for him to get out and make some big plays in the absence of Rice. He's kind of still been a big play or not seen at all. So I mean, we joke about Juju Smith-Schuster, but this is really playing with fire, especially Kelsey's not going to be his usual self.
Juju. I don't know. I don't know what this offense is going to be. I figured that they would have attempted to get somebody, especially after you saw what the Jets and, the Bills have done. Like, you don't want panic mode. You're not just trying to pick off somebody who, some high-priced wide receiver who may not fit your scheme. But they've said it. They think they've got the pieces for it. So Worthy is going to have to become a bigger part of this offense. Right now, he's just a deep threat gadget kind of guy. He can't get the 2 or 3 tosses a game. Like, he's legit going to have to run routes and be a 6 to 7 catch guy a game. Like, they need that. I don't know how much longer this offense can survive on this. Their defense is solid, but if Chris Jones gets hurt, that defense is toast. Like, let's be real.
That's always an interesting argument to make as far as especially when you have a championship nucleus. Do you bring someone in that might help the team, or is it a risk not worth taking and throwing off chemistry?
It's one of those things where, here's the thing, and I've heard people talk about this. In Kansas City's case here, they're shooting for history. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. They want to be the first team who's won three bowls in a row, right? So, do you mortgage your future on that, a la the Rams, and say, you know what, we need to get somebody, so let's throw away draft picks and let's make some history, and then we'll suck for 4 or 5 years and try to build it back up? Or do we sit with what we got and we truly believe that Patrick can make anybody great, and we just go with what we got? And I guess they're going with the latter.
And restructure his contract another 6 times to make sure you can keep everyone into the fold.
Yeah, because you're going to want to re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster to a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So this is what they're going with, and if they feel that they've got the parts, then hey, I don't think so. I think something's bound to happen, but hey, you're 5-0. I guess you let it ride. Until you lose, I'm the fool in thinking what I think.
Yeah. Do you think do they need Patrick to be Patrick again, or can they get by with him just kind of uh, skating the line and doing the game man a above average game manager thing?
I don't know. I don't know if they can get away with it. Right now, if they if they were to go up against Baltimore, let's say tomorrow's the AFC Championship game, and they go up against Baltimore, I think Baltimore's better than they were last year, and we all know why. King
And
Henry.
you were not thinking that a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's because they wouldn't give Henry the ball. Like we were like, all right, when
Yeah.
are you gonna start running the ball? Now they all of a sudden said, oh, we know why we signed this guy, and now all of a sudden, it's all
Yeah.
over the place. I don't know if they have to get into a shootout or a point for point kind of situation. I don't know if Kansas City can do it.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly missing all their weapons to do that.
So I don't know.
Speaking of weapons, there's been a lot of weapons in the NFC North this season, and we've got 3 out of the 4 teams we're going to touch on right now. We'll start with the matchup at the top. I mean, this is like it's funny that the Super Bowl rematch takes center stage as the America's Game of the Week, but it's highly possible this Lions Vikings game is really going to be the best game of the week because the what we see on the Lions. I mean, they kind of got out of the gate a little slow, but they've gotten way back in their groove. Obviously, they went they kind of ran away from the Seahawks in that one, and then they blew the doors off the Cowboys. So
That was the cow. Like honestly, it's the Cowboys. Like I can't sit there and be like, wow, that was like a tough heavyweight matchup. Like the Cowboys are hideous. We know this. But like you said, the Lions are on all cylinders now. I think the only thing that's going to deter them is going to be a health situation.
yeah, and on top of that, then the Vikings, we talked about it a lot of times leading up to the season. Like, okay, is Jettis gonna have buyer's remorse over that contract and not like Sam throwing to him? And Sam hasn't missed a beat. Ash has been there. They've been good on the ground. The run game was a little missing in a couple games this season, but generally speaking, it's been there. At some point, they're gonna get Hawkinson back. So this game to me is like this is almost or can the defenses even hold up, especially with Hutchinson being out? This is I feel like this is gonna be a points bonanza.
Yeah, this is going to be a game where it's going to come down to who makes the last mistake. Like you said, with Hutch being out for Detroit, that's going to be kind of tough on that defense. I think Aaron Jones is kind of nicked up for Minnesota, so it's going to be one of those situations where if the team, whichever team makes that fatal mistake, whether it's a fumble or an ill-advised throw, that could turn the tide of this game. I think, like you said, it's going to be points bonanza. It's going to be insane. This game to me is the game of the week. I think this is going to be a great game, especially the way that division is shaping up. So it's just going to be one of those great games.
First comment of the night: we have a Texans fan in the house. Hang out for a few minutes because we will be getting to your game momentarily.
Oh, the Texans! Yes, yes, yes.
So, do you think in this Lions Vikings game, is it a matter of who plays the cleanest win, who has the ball last, that sort of thing, or could can you isolate a player in this that's going to be X factor? Like, is it going to be like if Jettis gets going, is that going to be instant edge for Minnesota? If the Detroit ground game, which has been so impressive over the last few years, if that's consistent and balancing Detroit's offense and Goff's options, is that going to be the edge? Like where's kind of I don't want to call it an X factor, but what's the catalyst to having a successful game for both offenses?
I think when it comes to Detroit, it starts in the backfield. If both those guys are getting their touches and playing well, then Detroit is really tough to beat, because then at that point the passing game just it becomes easy. Let's be honest, it becomes easy when that team is running on all cylinders. They're impossible to stop, and it starts with Montgomery and Gibbs. Those guys are great. When it comes to Minnesota, they're gonna have to be able to run the ball. Got to be able to run the ball. Sam Darnold's had a great year, no doubt, but if you put it solely on his arm, I don't know if he can carry the team. So it's all going to come down to the run game, I think, for both teams.
So I'll double down on that then. Which running game is more important to keep the opposing offense off the field? Like, is it more important for Aaron Jones to get going to keep the Lions' multifaceted attack off the field, or is it more important for the Lions' double-headed attack to be balanced and keep Minnesota off the field? So Sam Darnold maybe has to do too much.
Oh no, Minnesota has to control the clock, because Detroit they're so strong they can score at any moment. Like when you've watched them this year, at any point they can score. Let's be real, they can go deep. They can break off a run. Like, they've got guys on all levels. Minnesota is going to have to churn the ball, run, eat the clock, and try to keep Detroit off the field as much as possible. I think that's their best way to go about winning this game.
And even flea flickers or end arounds, and as we saw last week, to Laporta.
Yeah, exactly, because you don't know what they're going to do. Campbell's all about whatever plays. Sometimes his play calling isn't exactly the greatest in the world, but he's willing to take a chance. And flea flickers and everything. You don't know what this offense is going to do. So Minnesota's really got to try to control the time of possession and, force Detroit. Every time they have the ball, just think we have to score, because we may not get the ball again for another 7 to 10 minutes.
Do you think the winner of this game is the favorite for home field advantage in the bye?
Yeah, right now, if you're going strictly by records, that's it. Because
regardless of what the Packers do, regardless if the Niners get going and hit a good streak, regardless of whether Washington holds on and continues out.
Right now, if you look at those 4 teams, if you were to rank them, you would probably say Detroit 1, Minnesota 2. Honestly, I'd say Packers 3 and San Fran 4. And that's just the reason San Fran's 4 is just the injuries. Like, there hasn't been anything consistent. Like, they're 3-3, like let's be honest here. So right now, now 3 weeks from now, it may totally turn. But right now, today, that's what you've got to say.
Not to disrespect your Bucks, of course, because they're in the mix too. But
because they're like 1-1. They're like 1-1. They're like 1-1.
Oh, okay. Oh, way up there. Yeah.
1-1. Hey man, I don't see anybody else dropping 50 points.
Everyone's chasing the Bucks.
Shoot, they all wish they had Baker Mayfield.
Well, let's get into it for our Texans friend here. They are going up to Lambeau this week. That's quite the tall task. I mean, Houston, I think, is starting to get their wheels back under them. Mm-hmm. After I would call it a slow start. It's hard to call, 4-5-1, 4-2. It's hard to call that a slow start. They're 5-1. It's hard to call it a slow start, but they haven't had the look, quote unquote, the look of 5-1. So now I think they've started to get their wheels back under them a little bit. They go up to Green Bay. Jordan Love's a couple games back from the injury. They're starting to get their wheels under them. So I think this is another one that might, like Lions-Vikings, might upstage the Super Bowl rematch as a potential game of the week.
Oh, yeah. If you're talking explosive plays and such, definitely. Like, both these teams, can put points up. It's going to be whether Houston can play that complete game. I'm looking for that, like, from start to finish. They can put the points up, but I want to see, like, that defense really shut down. I want to see that shutdown defense. When it comes to the Packers, they can score, but it just seems like during the games they have lapses. Or like, Jordan, will have like 1 or 2 throws where you're like, did you really need to make that throw? It's like almost a pick. So you're like, all right, be careful. And I know he's still coming back from the injury and such like that. But it's gonna be one of those games. Well, I think you know what? At the end of the day, both teams have to play a complete game. And right now, I think the Texans are on the verge of that. I think Green Bay is still kind of finding that. Like I said, they've got plenty of talent. They just they've got to play a full game.
It's almost like if you compare the two in that regard, it's almost like the Packers are a game behind Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Houston's on the verge of having everything come together and having the perfect game. Green Bay's like they're a game away from being at that pivotal point where they have a perfect game.
Exactly. But you know what that's like? Know what that is? That's not having enough preseason games. Like you're starting to see teams kind of really start to hit that stride and okay, it's the season, let's go. That's honestly because there hasn't been enough preseason. So
It is funny how we've seen the inconsistent start to the season for across the board. Really,
yeah.
it's like we've been trying to find where the kind of litmus test or
Where that
barometric
line is,
like
where it
yeah,
starts.
yeah. It's like so far it seems to be six. Seems to be 6 weeks in, which to me, okay, you only lost one preseason game. 6 weeks seems like it's stretching it a little bit to get everyone back on.
I don't know. But I think Houston is really ready to go on that run. And if they do, they very well could be, number one seed in the AFC. Very well. Now, mind you, Baltimore will have something to say about it, but
Yeah.
you know, Houston and Baltimore can put points up. Kansas City, not so much. But I think in this game, it's going to come down to Houston's defense playing a complete game.
So you would almost like where we think Detroit and Minnesota is going to be more of an offensive, who has the ball last type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
You think this is going to be more of a low scoring game, defense kind of wins, and it really very hinging on who plays clean.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the Packers need to play a clean game, and their run game is gonna be important for them. But I think Love needs to relax, not try to do too much, because I think sometimes he wants to make that big throw, a la Favre, a la Rodgers, the history of Packers quarterbacks. I think they need a really clean game, and this could be it. But I think Houston, even with the injury to Collins, I think they just have too many weapons.
As we know, sometimes turnovers happen. You can't necessarily avoid them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which team overall, and specifically which quarterback, is better equipped to withstand a turnover more than the other one?
I think CJ is less prone to make that bad pass. I think he is more he will eat a ball, he'll throw one away and live to play another game, another down. Love sometimes will sit there in the pocket and just throw something up and kind of hope that is one of his receivers is going to make a play. He's got talented receivers, but they're young and they're not at that level yet. So I would say CJ's better equipped for it for sure.
I think our friend Josh here agrees with you.
It's true, you never really see CJ just throw a ball up just for sake of trying to make something happen. It seems like he's always the next play ahead. Okay, if this isn't going to work, this is what we're going to do. Love kind of just sits there and kind of depends on his athletic ability, kind of like Favre in a way, and just
Yeah,
let's just throw it in and let's see if my guys can make the catch.
yeah. CJ is more of a cerebral quarterback.
Right now,
Um,
yeah.
it's funny. I mean, you compare that to the quarterbacks in the past, and it's funny how it's over the span of different coaches. Favre obviously under Sherman, and what was that old coach's name? Mike something. Oh, I can't think of his name. Um, not after. Oh, home. It was Sherman. Holmgren. Holmgren was a
Mm-hmm.
Holmgren, and then Sherman. and then Rodgers under McCarthy, and then LaFleur, and then Love under LaFleur. It's funny how throughout a whole different span of head coaches, those Packers quarterbacks are all very risk heavy, risk takers, kind of reckless abandon, throwing it down the field.
Well, definitely Favre for sure. Rodgers,
Yeah.
you know, though Rodgers wasn't a real interception guy, like some of his throws, you would sit there and say, okay, I don't think I would throw it, but he just had great touch on the ball for sure. But I think Love is, if you had to compare him to those two guys, he's more of a Favre kind of guy right now, but he's young. So I think as he gets older, he'll start to learn better. But right now, CJ is definitely the more cerebral kind of guy.
Before we move on, we'll answer this question for our friend Josh. If the Texans win, they'll be getting more recognition as a legit contender. 6-1, 6-1 sounds pretty legit.
Oh yeah, I think at this point, yeah, you come out of that 6-1, you have to look at them at that point. At this 6-1, probably at this point, you can say the division's theirs. That division's tough right now. It's them and the Colts. Everybody else should just go home and pack it up. Like that division is putrid. It's tough.
Yeah. And the Colts are hanging back quite a ways, 3-3.
Everyone thought the NFC South was going to be this horrible division. Right now, it's making it look like it's roses, unfortunately. But no, 6-1. You definitely have to put them in the conversation with Baltimore. In the AFC as the top team. You really do.
I mean, you picked them in our schedule roulette. You thought Houston was going to come out with a nice rosy 14-3, whatever it was.
I think I gave them something. Yeah, I think I gave them 13 or 14 wins. So they better win.
Yeah,
they better make me look good. Sheesh.
So we will move on to the next game here. And it's been the news story of the week, but really on our show, it's been the news story of the last 2.5 weeks, because the writing on the wall was if Davante Adams got traded, he was going to rejoin Aaron Rodgers. And like I agreed with you, like it was going to happen, but I still am not convinced that's going to solve their problems. I think the saving grace for the Jets in this Sunday night against Pittsburgh is the fact that for some eons unknown reason, the Steelers are sitting at 4-2, and Mike Tomlin has decided to bench Justin Fields for Russell Wilson.
Well, he did say he was going to see how the rest of practice this week went, but yeah, I think Russ is going to start, and I think it's a mistake. But you know what? Here's his out. Tomlin never once during the season stated without a doubt that Fields was the starter. He said at the very beginning, every week, we'll go with Fields. Russ is coming back. We'll go with Justin. We'll go with who's healthy, yada, yada. He never came out and said, Fields is my guy. So for those people who are going to be hurt about this, me included, because I think Fields earned the job.
Right.
But this is what it is. So now I guess they're going to think that Russ is going to turn it magical, and here we go. I think it's a bad move, but it is what it is. So yeah, you're going to have Russ probably.
And I can't put the 2 losses on Fields. I mean, they played us, and we got off to a hot start. Taylor controlled the game. We got out to a lead. I mean, our defense played well enough to contain Fields, and he put up a bunch of yards in garbage time to get the game a little closer than it was. Mm-hmm. But I still, in that span of time, maybe I'm just being a pessimistic fan, but I never really thought Fields played bad in that one.
No, but here's the thing. It sounds like the Steelers want to be able to throw the ball more. Let's be honest. They don't want to do this, slow control, kind of offense that, they've had Justin run.
Ironic, because we look at the Steelers over history.
Right, but you had Big Ben who'd sling it all over the place, and they probably feel it's going to open up the offense. So they're going to go at Russ. I don't think Russ is the guy you want slinging it all over the field. I think those days are gone with him. I think he's more of a game manager, run the ball, a little play action, take your time. but this is what they're going to do. So, and what's going to happen is someone's going to, in the offseason, is going to sign Fields, and they're going to be stuck with nobody.
Yeah. Ironically enough, that's Russ's game now, and he probably would have been better off in the system he just came from with Sean Payton doing that type of offense.
No, exactly. Unfortunately, the Steelers, like our friend Josh here says, they're 4-2, but it seems like they're playing to almost barely be 500. And I understand, they, from what it looks like, they just don't trust, Fields to throw the ball. They really don't. Oh, the greatest 9-8 team to make the playoffs. I honestly, if they go through with this Russell Wilson fiasco, no, I don't. I think something falls apart. I don't think it happens.
I would agree with that as well. I mean, I think that I agree with you. I think this is a mistake, and if they stick with Russ, I would agree that this is going to start the tailspin, because it's also a chemistry thing. I mean, the 4-2 with Fields, I don't care if the head coach is committed to him or not. You're 4-2. Why are you messing with results?
Yeah, you had Najee Harris actually showing up.
For once in 3 years.
The run game is there. If you want to be a run first team and and let Fields dink and dunk his way, and if that's his game right now, then if that's what he feels comfortable in, then go with it. You regardless, you were going to run off your defense. Your defense is what was going to keep you in games. Your offense is below average. Your defense is what was going to win you games. And now you're really taking the game out of their hands because they're going to be on the field a whole lot more with Russ at the helm.
Yeah. And we'll off of this conversation, we'll pivot it back to the opponent. Is this are they letting the Jets off the hook? Are the Jets in now a prime position to steal this victory?
Oh man!
Odd quarterback change.
Oh Lord! Well,
you saw this is, mind you, the trade was just as a quick offshoot. The trade was what, 12 hours old, and Davante Adams is sneaking around Rodgers on Pat McAfee this week.
like no need
he
for
was
that.
Ready.
Like literally, they had this mapped out weeks in advance. Rodgers knew what he was doing. As the GM of the organization, that's what Rodgers does.
He got his coach fired. He got his former favorite receiver in town.
Like seriously, if a player didn't have as much power, dude, he's like the LeBron James of the NFL, man. It's crazy.
That's true. People always said like how much power Brady had with like picking his team in Tampa. Rodgers is like saying, "Hold my beer,"
Yeah, exactly. But at least with Brady, he had the hardware to prove it. Like, let's be realistic. It's just Aaron being Aaron. I guess you have to give the Jets the nod that their defense is solid. They have a good defense, so Russ will probably throw a couple picks. It's going to be horrible. And all of a sudden, the Jets will, this is what will happen. The Jets will put up like 30 something points. Right. And of course, half of them will come. It'll be because of Russ, throwing picks, and then everyone's going to be like, oh man, the Jets are back. Get ready for it. Blah, blah, blah. And then next week they'll fall apart, barely put up 16, and then it'll be all here we go again. So no, you got to just, I don't know. You got to give the Jets the nod based on, I don't even know. I guess it's the Jets. Like, it's just so sad. Like, it's just really ridiculous that it's come to this point that really, like, they're grasping at straws. They feel that, Davante Adams is going to turn it around and they're going to, go on some magical run, and it's not going to happen. You got to be able to run the ball. You haven't been able to run the ball. And I'm sorry to tell you, it's Aaron's fault. He's just, he thinks he runs the show, and they let him. They gave him the keys to the kingdom, and now here you go. This is the dysfunction that you wanted. Now you got it.
It better pay off for him. And I'll tell you one thing: I don't think I don't think a team with this weakened offensive line is in a shape to go to the Super Bowl. So
Jordy Nelson
figure out a way to patch that line together if they want to get this to pay off.
No, but like our friend Josh here said, all you got to do is get Jordy Nelson back. James Jones, there you go. Why not? Donald Driver, I'm sure, has got nothing better to do. Bring him in. Like, let's be real. But you know what? This is what the Jets allowed, and now they're going to have to deal with it. Packers East. Here it is. Let's have fun.
Yeah. And I feel like this is a bad look for Davante Adams because he has missed the last few games with hamstring injury, and all of a sudden he gets traded to the
He's
Jets,
good. He's good
and
now.
he's ready to go. Catches a red eye flight in. Probably got 36 hours to look at the playbook, and he's primed to go. Starting Sunday night. Here we go. And I just feel like that's a bad look for him because everyone and their brother that watches football knows if you're going to play this week, you were just being a sourpuss in Vegas and dogging it for them. You weren't hurt. Like a hamstring is something that lingers with you for 2/3 of the season.
Or it was a situation where, the rate, maybe it was something where they said, you know what, we'll go with the hamstring story till we find somebody for you. That very well could have been it, because they probably weren't going to. Let's be realistic. They probably weren't going to play him even if he was 100%, because if he gets hurt, he's going to sit there, be a malcontent, and then you're not getting anything for the trade. So might as well just sit him. Like they were done. They were done with him. Like, let's be realistic. They were done with him. Better just to sit him. And now basically it's a conditional third pick. Now, if he's on the roster for the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, it gets moved to a 2. So, yeah. And it's not, because if they make the playoffs, they'll get bounced in the first round, a la the Cowboys. So there you go. Great season. Go Jets.
It would be total Jets karma for them to play this game, get everyone excited. I think the lock of a prop bet this week is for Davante Adams to score a touchdown. Maybe scores another one, and then next week he gets hurt. That would be like total Jets karma.
Oh, definitely. Because he's been staying at Aaron's house, learning the hand signals, blah, blah, blah. They've been watching old game tape. Like, okay, so why don't you just pull out the old playbooks from those Green Bay days and just run that? Just run that.
Watching old game tape, watching the Golden Girls.
So it is what it is. Yeah, it's a bad look all around, but the Jets are desperate because they made this bed. Now they've got to somehow scratch and claw their way to the playoffs. That's the only way that this is remotely a success. Remotely.
2-4. That's going to be a lot of scratching and clawing.
Well, don't forget, Buffalo kind of dug themselves out last year, so it can happen. But with this crew, I don't know.
We got through all the big games, so let's do a couple quick hitters. One is the Eagles and the Giants, and this is almost like who wants this game less. Now I look at this game from one hand and I'm like, okay, the Giants always struggle with the Eagles. If there's like one NFC East, they all kind of beat each other up. But if there's one NFC East that the Giants typically struggle the most against, it's usually the Eagles. But the Eagles can't get out of their own way. This is week in, week out. Eagles fans are waiting for this team to look like the Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl. It's not happening. So Eagles fans by the minute are getting more and more frustrated with Sirianni, ready to call for his head. They actually already are calling for his head. So it's like because of that, I almost still wondered, like, okay, is this would this be the situation that this upstart Giants team that, like, yeah, they're bad, but the defense plays really hard, would this be the situation for them to catch the Eagles off guard? I don't know. I would be terrified of picking this game if I had to bet on it.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. This has the makings of a game where somehow there's a fumble or something just happens and the Giants pull it out. It's a situation where the Giants are trying to figure out who they are. They don't believe in Daniel Jones. I don't care what is said. They don't. They tried to shop him in the offseason. We've talked about this. So they're just hoping that maybe they can, turn this around and just be competitive till they figure out what they can do. They've got some guys coming back from injury and such, so they should be okay to go. The Eagles are are that person that believes they're hype, even though they aren't that good. And that's what they are. Like there's talent all over that team, but for whatever reason, they get on the field, they can't figure it out.
The Eagles are
So
the stereotype of the kid that peaked in high school.
exactly, who shows up at the who still comes to the the high school games and stuff, wears his Letterman's jacket and still thinks he's on the team.
I don't want to live your life.
Exactly. Mock style. Varsity Blues, hell of a movie. So what it comes down to is if the Eagles could play anything remotely to what the talent they have is, they should be able to beat the Giants. They should be able
Oh,
to
it wouldn't be
handle it.
close. Yeah, it wouldn't be close.
But with the way that team is set up, Sirianni's a joke. He's gonna get bounced at the end of the year unless they win the Super Bowl. He's gone. That's just how it's gonna go. No one wants him. You can tell Hurts doesn't like him. It's just a matter of time. So if I'm a betting man, why not take the Giants? See what happens.
Yeah,
It's just what it is.
especially with the way this season has gone. Nothing happens that made sense 3 hours ago.
Exactly. So this could end up being literally like a 10-3 game or something. Like you don't know. This Eagles team is just a disappointment, and the Giants can't get out of their own way. So it's a
If the
flip of a coin.
Giants win a 10-3 game and hold the Eagles to 3 points, there might be riots outside of Lincoln Financial Field.
You know what? Maybe that's what they need. Honestly, that team needs to clean house and move on. Like they really do. Like Sirianni needs to go. I don't know what coach you bring in. I think there's just malcontent throughout there. Maybe you got too much talent. Trade off some pieces, get some picks, rebuild it. I don't think Hurts is as great as his contract states. I really don't. Like he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's
Yeah,
elite. He's not. He's not elite.
it's kind of like he caught lightning in a bottle that year.
Yeah, he's Dak. Let's be honest. Interesting.
It's an interesting pick, especially if we seem to bring it up. We seem to bring it up every other episode, if not every episode. The hoodie's gonna have his pick of the litter in the off season. But if someone misses out on Belichick, one of his disciples, Mike Vrabel, could actually be,
Yeah,
the next best option.
he was the most successful one. Let's be honest. He was the most successful guy. So I don't see why not. But the Eagles need something, and they need it quick. But we'll see what happens. That Giants game is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah. Now the next one, I know this one will hold an interesting place in your heart because you are hoping for Falcons' demise week in and week out.
Every week, every
I
week.
I don't know if you're gonna be happy this week though, because I think Seattle's starting to fall apart a little bit. Their defense has been hurt for 3 weeks now. Uh, Geno's not necessarily looking like the Geno of comeback player of the year. I think the clock is ticking to when they start giving Sling and Sam a chance. So I mean, but that being said, the Seahawks still have a ton of offensive talent. So is this going to be the same old inconsistent Falcons that struggle with inferior opponents? I mean, the Panthers, they got blown out by the end of it, but they gave them a little run for a good chunk of the game. Uh,
Yeah,
or or is this the game where we see the Falcons that played against your Bucks on Thursday night and Kirk, throws for half a mile over the middle?
you don't know what Falcons you're going to get. There hasn't been consistency, so you don't know. This could be kind of a game, kind of like when Seattle played Detroit. First half was low key, and then the second half the points came flowing. So it all depends. It all depends. It all depends on Kirk. At the end of the day, that offense is purely on the shoulders of Kirk Cousins, and it all just depends. Um, I think Seattle's secondary is solid. So I think they might be able to cause some havoc. So it's going to be a situation of Seattle just playing smart ball. I think being able to run the ball is going to be key for them. So it's not all on Geno.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Atlanta, you don't play down to inferior talent. They have to start out fast. They have to start out fast. And if they don't, this could be a game where they just don't come back.
So to that point, it's almost not necessarily a consistency issue with the Falcons as much as it is a maturity issue with the Falcons.
It's just a thing where it's either they come out quick and they seem like they're clicking, or it takes literally 3 quarters and then all of a sudden the light bulb comes on, and because they're playing Carolina and they have the talent, they can overcome it. But especially when you get closer to playoff time and things like that, that's not going to fly.
And in that situation, hopefully it's 14 points or fewer, if it's a deficit.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see, but I don't know. You don't know what Falcons team's going to show up, and you just hope with Seattle that Geno just plays smart and get the run game going and kind of get DK going early. I think that's the key too. They got to get DK starting early. If not, he's going to pout, kind of grumble, and then at that point it just becomes a bad situation.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, big picture as far as the playoff push is concerned, are you out on Seattle right now? They started out hot 3-0, and ever since that Detroit game, they're right back to 500. And I mean, we kind of didn't expect a ton out of Seattle this year, but they got off to a hot start. Are we kind of out on Seattle right now?
Well, they're 3-3. Same thing with San Fran. Are we out on San Fran then?
Yeah.
I think 3-3.
Grace's that division is awful.
3-3, you're still in the conversation. You got division games and such. So I'm not out because they've got talent. But if they end up going like 3-5, 3-6, like if this slide continues, I don't know if they can dig themselves out. So they definitely need a win.
Seattle's got to get healthy before they're quote unquote out of it. Like before that slide becomes to a FUBAR situation, they got to get healthy, because if they're healthy, that's when I agree with you. They've got the talent to withstand, but if they're not healthy, they're just not good enough.
Yeah, and Geno can't try to do it on his own. He's got to sit there and they've got to figure it out. He can't try to do it all on his own, and you kind of get that sometimes in watching him play. Kind of looks like he's trying to make that throw. He's trying to get 14 points on one throw. Not going to happen. So
it's crazy to me that they were able to withstand the Kenny Walker injury early on and maintain an undefeated start. But since Kenny Walker's been back, they kind of go away from him, and they're less reliant on the run game. Like, you have a sort of, well, he hasn't been all pro yet, but you've got like an all pro level of running back behind you.
Yeah.
And he's healthy now. Use him.
Well, just like Baltimore, it took them how many weeks before the light bulb went off and said, "Oh, wait a minute, we have Derrick Henry." Like, oh, shoot, Derrick Henry's right there. Yeah, give him the ball.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, and if they don't figure it out or start using them sooner, they're going to find themselves 3-6 and out of it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Now, my team, of course, AR's back this week. I don't know if Taylor's going to be back, but just AR being back, and I don't even know if next I should be an extra confident because Flacco's played well, much to my own surprise. But we're playing the Dolphins at home. Tua's still out. The Dolphins, I mean, they got lucky to beat the Patriots, and aside from that, they've been pretty much an embarrassment since the concussion injury. So, I mean, is there a short leash on AR before you just say, okay, kid, you're not ready yet. We're putting Joe back in because at least he was keeping us competitive.
Here's the thing: if it's a health situation and you're just bringing him back, I'd give him one more week. Like, really, like, Joe's playing solid for you. Like, honestly, I don't see why not. Make sure he's 100%. If he's like 80, 85, why bring him in? Why? It makes no sense. Get him 100%. Dolphins, I think right now they're just going to try to tread water till Tua decides to come back. I think it's week 8, I think, is the first week he can come back, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. But he he says he's coming back, so they're gonna try to tread water, and then I guess hope he can step right in and just the offense wakes up. I don't know, but for the Colts, I would give the kid one more week. I'd say, hey man, just one more week. Let's make sure you're 100%. Let's make sure there's no issues or anything like that, and then you go. Joe's held it down. Let's just go with that. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to win games. Now, the coach needs to look at himself because it's kind of his fault that they're in that situation because you put AR back out there after he got hurt the first time, and then he's out for a game or so.
The kid's proven nothing, not much past the point that he's made of glass. Stop running him. Stop calling running plays.
Yeah, like
that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know the cool hip thing is to let your quarterback run and such, but he's either got to put on another 10, 15 pounds, or they got to figure something out because he can't take the hits. Right now he can't take the hits. And if this continues, you guys are gonna be looking for another quarterback, or Flacco's gonna be your guy for another 2-3 years.
That's terrifying.
Or maybe or maybe you guys sign Justin Fields.
Well, wouldn't be the worst stopgap, honestly.
Let's be realistic.
The way Mike Tomlin's treating him, I'll take him.
There you go. So I think you guys protect him. If Taylor isn't a go, then use you guys. Your backup is what's his name? Starts with an S.
Oh, Sam Ellinger.
No, well, I mean running back.
Oh, Sermon, Trey Sermon.
Yeah. So if Taylor can't go, give him a heavy dose of him and see what happens. But I'm not a fan of how you guys are using AR, and he needs to be 100%, and he needs to throw first and not run first.
Oh, I'm not either. I don't know why I don't know why Steichen didn't learn his lesson from last year. That's exactly what happened. And the crazy part is, as soon as he got hurt and he was shelved for the season, Uncle Rico comes in and he's humming it down the field. I'm like, why didn't you just let AR do that? You knew he had to work on his accuracy. Let him work out. Let him work the kinks out.
No, exactly. No, exactly. And Josh, if AR is if he's not gonna change the way he plays, he's gonna have a real short career in the league, point blank.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take the hits and you can't survive those hits, you'll be playing in the XFL. Nothing wrong with the XFL, man. I enjoy that. That's good football. But that's what's gonna happen because the NFL they don't play around, man. Those guys are looking to hit a quarterback. So if your body isn't up to it, it's gonna be a problem. So the Colts have some interesting questions to answer there.
And to that point, I mean, that's the type of situation where the coach has to tell the quarterback, you can't play like this. We're gonna pass more. But I just don't think Steichen's his behavior as evidence. I don't think he's shown.
You think he's soft? You think he's soft?
Yeah.
So you don't think he's got a little Belichick in him to be like, no.
Well, even if he did, that's the way he wants to call plays for him. So like I don't even know if he would tell him stop playing like that because he's demonstrated that's the way he wants to play him.
Oh, well, if that's what he's going to do, then that's on him. But he'll be an assistant somewhere because you're going to work your way out of a coaching job.
Last I checked, 2 negatives don't make a positive.
There you go. It's going to end up being an out of work head coach and a broken down quarterback.
That's right, and we'll be the Browns. Anyway, real quick, I have to get a little joke in here. Are the Brits going to tell us to stop sending NFL teams over to play games after Jaguars Patriots?
No, they're gonna tell us to stop sending the Jaguars over there because that's just an abomination right there. I don't know, man. And I don't know why it's every year. It's like the Jags are like every game. I swear they're the headliner. It's like why?
Yeah.
Stop trying to force football down their throats. If you're gonna do that, send real teams. Send Patrick Mahomes over there. I don't see him over there, doing his thing. If he's, the golden boy of the league, he should be playing the game over there.
Yeah. Has he even gone? I don't even know if they've gone.
I don't think so, but if you're trying to sell your product to the world, why not send the Chiefs?
The golden boy. Yeah.
If the NBA, they send LeBron out there, they send you're not getting you're not getting the Spurs over there.
Hey, Wemby is a marketable player right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Wemby is. That's true. My boy Wemby. But you're not sending you wouldn't be sending the Nets of years ago over there because no one would have cared.
No.
So why are you sending the Jaguars? Right? Well, in theory, you're not. The league, I guess, figured they were going to be good, but every year it's just kind of the same old story. But after this year, one game and that's it. If you're going to send them, that's it. Yeah. You need to start bringing your prime teams over there. What it should be is playoff teams from the year before,
right?
Or something.
And I know they signed a contract for a long-term game exposure over there. I don't remember how many years it was. I would hope it's got to be over soon because I feel like they signed that contract 6 years ago.
Why not San Fran and KC?
Yeah.
Why not?
The Super Bowl rematch in London, yeah.
Send Dallas over there. It's always the game of the week, blah, blah, blah. Send them over there.
Have the game of the week at 10 o'clock in the morning. It'll work.
Yeah, because we're tired. We're tired of seeing the Cowboys at 4 o'clock. So there you go. Let the world see them at 9, and let us sleep in.
Josh, I did see your comment. I will answer this. I don't think that would happen. But to your point, that would probably be the type of change of scenery that Jalen Hurts might need after the Sirianni situation.
Could have, or maybe it doesn't work out for Steichen out there in Indy, and they bring him back to Philly.
Yeah, maybe it's the other way. It's the other way around.
Right now it's like both franchises are in a weird place, especially Philly. Philly more than Indy for sure, but this week's going to tell a lot for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's right about it time, Bucks and McGee. This is going to be a very interesting week, and we will get to your Bucks showdown with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens on Sunday night as we recap all this chaos. Sir, take us off air for the pregame show of Week 7.
Week 6. Wow. It's going to be a good one. Very excited. I get to wait till Monday to see how, everything pans out. But, Super Bowl rematch, not really excited about it. But, Texans Packers looks to be a great one. Headlining game has got to be Detroit and Minnesota. Everybody enjoy it. Jets fans, again, guys just suck. Sorry. Davante Adams. It is what it is. You chose your bed. Have fun.